several other states that have since started an office. And since I've done this last year, we've had 2 new members join us, Pitt Gruey, our director, and Patrick Morrison, our program specialist. India Nielsen Barfus was helping me with the grant, and she has now moved to being responsible for all of our major events, as well as several other initiatives. Our mission is, very short. It's sure all Utahns can live a healthy lifestyle through outdoor recreation, and that is the basis for all of what we do, including this grant, because the infrastructure and the trails and other things that we hope to help fund and invest in can provide that great quality of life that we have come to love and enjoy through outdoor recreation, and really benefits our communities.
And I just want to go ahead and talk through our agenda quickly. Before I do, we released our 2021 program guide. There's the link right up at the top, business.utah.gov/outdoor/grants. You're welcome to go ahead now, download a copy. That'll be very helpful during the entire application cycle. We're really happy with it, so make sure you use that as a resource. As you can see, every year we try to improve our grants. So we want to kind of go over what the grants are, what's new, and then get into a little more specifics with our UORG grants, Regional Asset Tier, Mini-Grant, show you our past projects. We have our recreation infrastructure for deferred maintenance. We want to show you some of those projects, and then we'll get in a little bit into the weeds with eligibility guidelines, and then hopefully give you some tips for writing your application, show you some mistakes we see, give you some success, and then a bit more into the weeds about the actual application, how to do it online, show you what resources we've tried to make available for everybody, cover our dates, give you one more resource with our Utah Trails Forum, and then we have some great guests who are going to be kind of helping out from the National Park Service, the Forest Service, and the Bureau of Land Management, and then we'll be ready to take your questions. So as we jump in, the 2020 grants we have are our flagship, which is the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant. This is for new infrastructure and oftentimes for projects that improve access and also have economic and tourism benefits. We have the classic, which funds from $10,001 up to $150,000. We have the mini grant. It's a more streamlined process for smaller projects that funds up to $10,000, and then our regional asset tier, which is for larger projects up to $500,000. And we'll see a little bit more on the next slide. We have our recreation restoration infrastructure grant, brand new last year. We were thrilled with the success. Excited to be bringing it back, and that's for deferred maintenance on public lands. And then once again, our new mini grant, new to 2021, and our outdoor classroom grant, which we are excited to help fund permanent built infrastructure for outdoor learning spaces. And it's going to have its own webinar tomorrow. So if anybody is really interested in that, stay tuned. We'll give it an entire workshop worth of attention. If we look right at our UORG, we've been running it since 2015. We're excited to see its growth. It's funded by the state TRT, the transient room tax. And like I said, it's for new outdoor recreation infrastructure. It really does fund so many types of projects, but the important thing is that it's enhancing recreational opportunities and amenities in our communities. And there is an emphasis with this on offering economic opportunities for your community, whether it be shops or hotels, and then helping the community enhance their quality of life and giving them social and health benefits. Here is just a little closer look of what the 3 programs within the UORG umbrella. Tier 1, our flagship, $10,001 to $150,000. All of these you can see are a 1-to-1 match component, except for the regional asset tier, which actually exceeds it just a bit. This one funds up to $500,000, and project value must be at least $2 million. We funded 4 of these last year, but our scoring committee does have kind of guidance on how many they want to fund. This is really for big projects that become a regional draw. Really exciting projects though that we were able to fund last year. And then finally our mini grant. This one is just for smaller projects. We had a lot of input that people wanted a more streamlined application for projects that maybe shouldn't be held to the same standards as a $150,000 one. We responded by trying to offer this. There's a lot of good opportunities. We've funded a lot of grants that are well within this range. So we look forward to kind of giving you an easier opportunity to apply for that. And if we want to look at some of the eligible infrastructure.
Oh, sorry about that, Pat.
No problem. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to go into the eligible outdoor recreation grant infrastructure types, but I wanted to emphasize that if you've got a question, please type it into the chat line and we can answer it. India will help us keep track of those. And as you think of things, please go ahead and put it into that area so it'll be easier. All of the infrastructure that is eligible for the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant is infrastructure that would support any of these activities. You can find this on page 6 of your program guide. So this does not include things like pickleball courts or soccer fields and some of those typical playgrounds and that kind of thing. So that just makes it a lot easier. If you've got questions, just follow up with us. We're going to give you some ideas of some examples of what we do fund. So some examples from the past have been things such as, bouldering structures such as this one funded in Moab, various mountain biking trails, such as this one that was done up kind of near Guardsman's Pass by the Wasatch Trails Foundation. Equestrian trails, of course, anything that is for trail users, whether that's motorized or non-motorized, and this awesome community fishing pond in Vernal. And then some examples of some other projects that fit into different tiers. Although we didn't offer the mini grant in previous years, there were projects that were under 10,000 and under, and these are examples of those. But since the application now will be much more streamlined, it makes it a lot easier to apply for things. But there's a great disc golf course in that was the project organization was SUU. They did a great one, interpretive sign panels in New Harmony, just really illustrating the nature park on a trail. And then for really large projects, projects that have $2 million or more, we offer the regional asset tier. It is helping to fund, it's not finished yet, but the ice ribbon feature in the city of Mill Creek, and then river takeouts and put-ins along the Jordan River. That one, so last year we were able to fund 2 $500,000 regional asset tiers, and that was the plan, that one would be rural and one would be urban. The committee was so impressed with these, they also decided to fund 2 additional ones, but we couldn't do that at the 500,000, so they did fund 2 at 250,000, which is still significant. And then park infrastructure. If you have a park and you're wanting to put in some infrastructure that is fitting with our requirements, might think about things like an archery range outside, even we've funded outdoor shooting ranges, adventure trail features such as these shown here, crossing bridges, climbing up and over things, and of course anything that supports climbing and that type of thing, fishing ponds, that types of things. Outdoor instruments, I just saw that come up. Not necessarily. I would say that if it's really incorporated with a lot more of this kind of more active type of thing, like you see here, it could happen. We did fund a nature playscape down at Four Corners Outdoor School in San Juan County. It did have some outdoor instruments in it, but it also had some other features that really encouraged young children to do scrambling and other things. If you're really interested in that, please contact us and we can go through that. Okay.
So the As we talked about, is for our new infrastructure, but we also offer our recreation restoration infrastructure grant for it's helping to alleviate the backlog of heavy maintenance on public lands within our state. As many of you are aware, there is a lot of public lands in the state, and a lot of it desperately needs some maintenance. So this was kind of created as a way to respond to a lot of our applicants who wanted something like this. As a former trails director, this is definitely one that I see a great value in. As I said, it's for existing outdoor recreation infrastructure. These are projects that are generally in high use, kind of developed areas. You'll see a lot of summer use trails or campgrounds, day use areas, and water recreation areas. Also, it's very important, this infrastructure must be on publicly owned lands, and therefore you'll definitely need to be coordinating with the land management agency, whether it's a federal, state, city, whomever owns the land. They will be a very important partner looking forward. And this is a matching grant that awards $5,000 to $150,000. It's also a 24-month contract as well. You can see some of the eligible projects that we have. Trails, as we said, pretty classic, but there's a lot of trails. There's a lot of trail elements. If you want to just work on the trail, the bridges, the culverts, the signage, a lot of opportunities to kind of help some of that. Campground, picnic sites, same thing. There's just so many elements within these that desperately need some of the deferred maintenance addressed. Water recreation, we've had some really great projects repairing marinas. And anytime you want to take a project and help make it more accessible, we really appreciate those. We had a yurts project you'll get to see that was able to take an existing infrastructure and help convert it into a more ADA compliant setup. So we really like to expand that access. And then finally, this is for major reconstruction, but this is not a grant for annual maintenance. So just keep that in mind. And invasive species removal can be very important to some of these projects. And we want to make sure that you know that can be an eligible cost, but that certainly cannot be a standalone project. If we look at some of our examples, you'll see our very first one here at the top. This is the first completed RI project, which is in the Dixie National Forest. This is the Red Canyon Bike Path Trail. They were able to repave about 8.5 miles of this incredibly beautiful, useful trail. The photos are just remarkable. On the left, you can see our yurt upgrades, which was done in the Uintas with the Wasatch Cache National Forest. This is the Bear River Outdoor Alliance. They, kind of helped create better bathroom facilities, safer power, and really did a nice upgrade on this to make this more accessible for everybody. A more classic one is this one on the right with the conservation legacy and this restoration of these trails here. And then finally, SUU is doing this awesome campsite renovation. It's same idea. This is a infrastructure that is dilapidated, and they're kind of working to make it functional again and much better to serve our communities.
Yes, and I'm just going to stop right here and answer a couple questions. There have been a few folks that have asked about grants for programming. We did have last year the Utah Children's and Outdoor Recreation and Education Grant. We do not have that. That was funding for 1 year. However, we are hoping to bring that back. So please stay in touch with our office and contact me to find out, what we're envisioning for that. But we do have, because we do have funding for infrastructure, we have an opportunity with the Utah Outdoor Classroom Grant. This would be permanent infrastructure that could be placed on a school campus or the campus of a nonprofit, or it could be done for a tribal group. It awards up to $10,000 for this, and it is expressly for K through 12 students, not the pre-K age group, and it is to support nature-based STEM learning. So if you want to find out much more about that, we do have tomorrow at 4 o'clock a session, the Utah Outdoor Classroom Grant Workshop. If you can attend then, it will be recorded and you may watch it later. We'll be sending out links. Thanks. And on the matching requirements, I just wanted to go through, it is given as a reimbursement. You'll want to keep track of all invoices and receipts in the course of the project construction. It is a 50-50 match, and each applicant match at least half of the applicant's match must be cash. that can include funding help from partners. And for the RI and UORG Mini-Grant, it can be a combination. The match can be a combination of the partner and applicant, which is perfectly expected. And then the regional asset tier, it's going to exceed that because it is a $2 million project or higher, and the most we can provide there is $500,000. And I just want to emphasize that all grant applicants must put in some amount of cash into the match to show skin in the game. What has happened sometimes is that we have federal land management agencies that aren't able to directly apply due to the constraints that we have in our administrative code. But they can certainly work to get a project, but they must partner with a Friends of organization or a community or the like, some other nonprofit. And to do that, they can then apply, but it cannot be that their eligible applicant partner puts nothing into it. So a little cash can go a long way towards making sure that gets approved by the scoring committee. And then what's allowed in the cost or match. This is also covered in the program guide, so you can look at it really much more in depth. But you know, it's just, it can go into you know, whether the cost it's paid for by the grant or you're providing it as an in-kind match. That can be costs for trail building machinery, hand tools, land clearing, anything that is needed, or rental of some of those things, and services provided like skilled and unskilled labor, other construction costs, and gifts and donations, as long as they're used during the contract period. And some amount of engineering plans can be used as a portion, up to 15%. And disallowed costs are things like, you know, storage building that don't have other, you know, that aren't being used for things other than recreational equipment, use of your own equipment. If you don't charge yourself for the use of your own equipment, it can't be used as a match. And then you can use your employees as a match, but it's not for stuff that would have already been paid. It's for work on the project only. Please contact us and we can walk you through that as you're filling out the budget and trying to get an idea of that. And just wanted to emphasize, we don't pay for the cost of you know, your professional grant writer and applying for this grant, nor do we pay for grand opening costs or marketing. I've seen that being pushed later when they're trying to get reimbursed for it, so don't do that. And also ongoing maintenance for the infrastructure is something that you're going to want to have a plan for. But we will get to these questions, I promise. I'm seeing a lot come up and they are awesome questions, but we're gonna keep going. So common mistakes on these, it's a stretch to call it an outdoor recreation project. So sidewalks and say a pickleball court wouldn't be eligible. I would say that, you know, walking trail is perfectly eligible. The fitness equipment, it really depends. Probably not stuff like chin-up bars and that type of thing, but you know, we did fund something that was kind of along the lines of you know, kind of a real cool adventure obstacle course, which is really cool, down in Beaver County. So that kind of thing would be eligible. Please contact us and we can talk through it, and we can finish answering these questions at the end. Lacks detail. It really is important within the description of your project on the application and in the abstract as well, that you really provide the detail needed. What type of trail? How long is it? How wide? What's the material? um, and is and so on for the different types of infrastructure. Show that it's ready to go. It's got the permitting that is needed prior to this, such as environmental clearances. Obviously, construction permits are something you get right before that's, and then just show that this is a real need for the community. Really pull that together in your paragraphs that you have within the application. And for the UORG Tier 1 and the Regional Asset Tier, there's got to be some connection to showing its visitation, the chance that it has for this piece to attract visitation, tourists, as well as residents to use it. But in other words, it really needs to show that it can be a driver. It's also important to show that this project is really being run by the applicant, or that they have a real partnership with perhaps it's done on BLM land, but that they are managing that, and it's not. It really needs to look like it is their project. We can talk a little bit more about that. And this is definitely a new point. Make sure you apply to the right grant. If it is a heavy maintenance project where you're really doing some restoration work, apply for the RRI. If it's brand new infrastructure, apply for the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant. Because the RRI grant is shorter, there might be that temptation to apply for that. But if you're applying for new infrastructure, it's just, we'd say at the time as we go through the initial scoring, I'm sorry, but this is ineligible to even go to the scoring committee because you're applying for new infrastructure with the wrong application. So make sure you don't do that.
Well, thank you, Tara. And now I get the pleasure of talking about some of the secrets of success. These ones are focusing mainly on planning your project. As you really think about your project, it's really important that you consider the problem that you're going to solve. Really spend the time thinking about how this project is going to meet this need. It's very important. Tara discussed a want, not a need. So keep this in mind. Really stay local. There's going to be master trail plans in your area. You're going to have like tourism directors. There's a lot of local community support. Maybe they have projects already in mind. Reach out to them, get them on board. They can offer a lot of support and help connect you to locations, to other organizations. Can't emphasize that enough. As part of this, perhaps they do have a master plan for their community already and the recreation assets there. If you can fit your project into that, that's only going to strengthen it. That's going to be a great driver for tourism and for economics and just quality of life within your community. You're going to hear me say this a lot from here on out, but partners, partners, partners. It's always so great to have a great assembly of people who are willing to contribute their time and effort and oftentimes money into creating these projects. So assemble as many partners as you can and really sell that partnership. The more partners, the more we feel comfortable passing it along, and we know it's going to be taken care of in the future because more people have dedicated their time and effort to it. And then know our guidelines. As we try to present a lot of this, we just want to make sure that what you're applying to fits. Whether it be the UORG or RRI applications, or just the manner in which your project is lined out. Make sure you're applying for outdoor infrastructure and not sidewalks, as Tara says. And we are here to help. So really call us, email us anytime. The earlier the better. We will help. Every single day that we can. That's ultimately why we're here to do this workshop and to reach out to have that. As we look at the application specifically, a lot of this may seem like pretty clear, but it's very important you proofread. Make sure you have a correct organization, your contacts are all correct. We will need this to reach out to you, and we just want to make sure we're reaching out to the right person. As you're starting to craft it, make an impression. Think very long and hard about your project abstract and project description. The way these applications are scored is, we get so many applications, but we only have so many committee members on our scoring committee. So they can only read so much. Oftentimes, they're really looking at these project abstracts and project descriptions. So if you can really sell your project, address the need, and show what you're going to do, that's going to be very helpful. Start early. This is kind of a rule for almost all things, really. Just take the time to gather all the documents you need, the letters you need. The earlier you start, if you have any hiccups, you can get with us, we can help you, your community can help you. So really want to make sure to emphasize that you start early. You know, the last week might be just a little too late for us to be able to help as much as we want to be able to. Keep in mind that once it's submitted, it is used word for word by our scoring committee and in the statewide reporting. So any errors we see, we can't go in and correct that. And that's just going to reflect on your application and the project. So going back to the top, just proofread, understand when you do submit it, that it is done. And when I say use descriptive adjectives and watch your words here, this isn't just like fun, flowery language. We want to be very clear about the language. Things like sidewalk, stroller lane, maintenance. Some of these are big words for us because they show like an eligibility with your project. So rather than say sidewalk, you could say like a running lane. Just keep in mind that what you're describing is eligible and is a true descriptor of the actual project. And then finally, back to the partners, back to using your local community, get unique letters of support where they can show very sincere support for this project. You don't want to, just have a bunch of formulaic letters. You're going to have shop owners, hotel owners, restaurants, tourism directors, bike clubs. There's just so many wonderful people in these communities who want your projects to succeed, and they will show you support. Start early, give them time, but they're there to help and really, encourage and support that, they want to support that. When we get into the actual application, this is just kind of a breakdown of what is on the application, so you can kind of have an idea. And once again, all of this is in our program guide, so we really hope you're going to use that as a good resource. But the application consists of your contact, project summary, project readiness and scheduling. Here you'll have like a template for your actual timeline. This is where you demonstrate that it is shovel ready. We like to prioritize projects that show a readiness and can kind of break ground within 6 months. The economic impact is very important. Outdoor recreation is wonderful because it helps the quality of life, physically and mentally, but also economically. Our gateway towns, our urban settings, all really benefit from that, and we want to support that growth. But keep in mind, this is for the UORG Tier 1 and Regional Asset Tier. Then we have our recreational access and value. Part of our mission is to ensure all Utahns get access, and we want you to show that within this section. And then finally, we have our required supportive materials and attachments. A lot of these, we have templates, we have step-by-step guides that you can find on our resource page, but Tara's gonna go ahead and walk through some of these attachments. Oh, Tara, I believe you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. I was just going to say, well, on these required supportive materials, these are things you can get started on now, so that at the time you apply in January, you can really get this done quickly. Location map, that will be required. Those are easy things to get. Just create it with Google Maps. W-9 form, this is important, so you can get paid from us. The application logo, so actually that should say, Patrick, applicant logo, not application logo, but applicant logo, because it will be something that we point to as your project, and that will be all that we have for it at this point. Recreation site plan, engineering plans, conceptual drawings. Especially the recreational site plan, which is also often a conceptual drawing. Those things you should have before, so that they can get a real good visual of what it is. If you have engineering plans, this can substitute for us, but you do not have to have engineering plans at the time you apply. Oftentimes we know that your project isn't a go yet until you get funding, right? So that's the reason you're coming to us, is because you need that last amount of funding before you can get to the point where you get the engineering plans. You'll want to get that letter of support from the local tourism or economic development office for if you're applying for the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant, either Tier 1 or the Regional Asset Tier. It is not required for the RI nor for the Mini-Grant. A statement of responsibility is something basically that says, after it's been funded and built, we will be, whoever that organization is, we will be responsible for the annual upkeep and maintenance for this trail or other types of outdoor recreation, and we'll keep it in good shape and the likelihood. So whoever that is, it might not be the applicant, but whoever that is needs to write up something like that. We do have a template for it, but you're free to have another type of a document that could be on letterhead from that organization. Budget spreadsheet, we do have that downloadable. The first tab of that is just an example of how it is. Make sure that you are reviewing what is eligible and ineligible as a match or expense. And then a written confirmation of donations from financial partners. If you are getting donations from financial partners, just to kind of show that could be even a PDF of an email. So just keep track of those and have those in a file all ready to go. Timeline, we provide 18-month timeline sheets or for things like the mini grants, and a 24-month timeline for the Tier 1 and above Utah Outdoor Recreation grants. And if you have if you are doing a project that is not on land that is under the control of the applicant, there needs to be some kind of document showing that you are working with permission and participation from the relevant land management agency, or perhaps it is a trail that does go over private land. So a copy of a memorandum of understanding or relevant landowner agreement, copy of that that you would upload and provide would be appropriate. And then any federal permits or letters stating their status is definitely going to help you show that you are really ready for this. And as you can see down below, there are some links for that that you can get off of the application portal. And it is on our grant work website. So, Patrick?
Yeah, so when you do decide you want to apply, we will be releasing the actual application portal when the period opens, and that's going to be January 20th, 2021. You can get a full preview of all that's required for the application, download sample applications, see the attachments all right now if you go to our website at outdoor/grants. So I really recommend you can do that. You could even start applying tomorrow or as soon as this workshop ends by getting your word processor out, drafting the answers. I can't emphasize enough how helpful those sample applications are. It'll allow you to kind of edit, review everything. You can see there's character limits, so definitely keep in mind with that. As you're actually working through the application, this is just kind of stuff that we encounter. Make sure you're saving your work in the application portal frequently. As we know, the connection errors happen, and it could lead to a loss of all the answers. So like with any document, just be sure to save. It does not have autosave. That maybe we've all gotten pretty used to. So just keep that in mind. For each question, there should be a help button. The help button is going to be incredibly helpful. It's just going to kind of dive into maybe a little more detail of what we're looking for or what's expected with each answer. Another problem we had last year is we do have a lot of templates, and we encourage you to use these templates and prefer you to use the templates, quite honestly. But when you do use those, make sure you are saving them and then filling them out and then re-uploading them. Oftentimes people will just click them, and they'll view it in your browser, they'll fill out the information and then hit submit, but then they just show up on our end just completely blank, and then we have to reach out and have you do it again. So just so you can avoid that, make sure you're saving those, filling them out, and then re-uploading them. And we do have a 20 meg attachment limit. It's rarely a problem, but just keep in mind as you are adding attachments like maps, your support letters, etc. Just keep in mind that if you do see an error and you're not sure what, check the size of that file, because that is a pretty common error that we do see. Some of the important dates as we enter are grant cycle. It opens Wednesday, January 20th, 2021, and it closes Friday, March 19th, 2021 at 5 p.m. I really want to bring attention to this early deadline, March 1st, 2021. This is your opportunity to finish your application and submit it to our staff, and we will give it a full review, do everything we can to identify any weaknesses, any strengths, any grammar errors. There's just a lot that we can do. However, we do need to keep that deadline at March 1st, because as we approach the final deadline, we really do get quite busy. So this allows us to give it the attention it needs. And we hope to announce early May 2021, assuming no earthquakes this year. And you'll hear me say it again, but please start early, reach out. We're definitely here to support in any way that we possibly can. And I just kind of want to talk about just the final of our resources. We've released this program guide. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to go download it. That's going to walk through so many things that are going to be helpful of all of these grant programs. We have an actual resource page set up at business.utah.gov/outdoor/grants. There you can find the link to download that guide. You can see those full application samples that are going to be so helpful. We have a lot of planning resources there if you need help on figuring out how to build, how to sell the program. There's just a lot of great resources there. We have budget step-by-step webinars, as well as an application webinar. So if you want to dive a little deeper with one of these webinars, those links are going to be there. You can find your attachment templates, and plenty more that I just did not list on this. So feel free to poke around on that. We want to make sure that you have the resources to succeed, and there may be no better resource than Tara and myself. You have our contact information there, and we'll also have that displayed on the last slide. So don't need to worry about writing that down right now. And then we have one last resource that we really hope you're going to take advantage of, and I want to let Tara introduce that.
So this is the Utah Trails Forum. This is a brand new initiative, and this says it's bringing together trail advocates and professionals, volunteers, community leaders. It's meant to advance the building and care of the natural surface trails. So it really encourages these partnerships to plan, build, maintain trails from start to completion. And this, we hope, will be a real learning resource for individuals to really further their knowledge of trail building and maintenance. We have also, and we'll send this out in a link with follow-up materials, but Utah State University did create an online first course in their Master Trail Stewards program. If you've ever heard of Master Gardener program, this is kind of like that, but this is the first in the country. So you can get online, and for $10, you can go through and really get trained on the basics of trail, very basics of trail building and maintenance. This is really perfect for those who are really new to it, and especially your volunteers. So we'll send that out, and there will be more learning resources in the course of next year. We have the advisory committee, or the committee that will be running the Utah Trails Forum, is getting organized and is putting together an outreach/education subcommittee, and they will soon be putting together kind of webinars, workshops, and more. So look for that. That's meant to be a great resource. And then shall we answer some of the questions right now?
I will go ahead. Let me get those pulled up here. All right, so I'm just going to go through the order they came in unless they were already answered. Julia asks, and this is actually a question that was repeated a couple of times, are parking lots / trailheads construction eligible?
Yes, parking lots technically are, but the scoring committee will not get excited about them unless there is a little bit more to it than just the parking lot. When there's more applications and asks for funding than there is available, they probably won't be prioritized unless you've got a real needs-based reason. So if you're going to want to improve that, you're going to want to really improve your trailhead, or do some other things that are connected with improving the trail and trail access. But if it's parking lot only, it just won't be sexy enough for the scoring committee.
And Tara, would you kind of give the same answer about restrooms at trailhead access as
Yeah,
similar to parking
that's
lots?
true. You know, it's the same thing. I will say, you know, just combine it with some other trailhead um, features, such as, say, even if it's just replacing the kiosk and updating those. Some of these kiosks have been around a dang long time and could use a real facelift or change. So that is relatively inexpensive, but just adding that, I mean, compared to a restroom, right, or a parking lot. So adding that onto it might make it possible to get that through, or you know, putting in signage that has been defaced or, you know, pushed down by kind of a snow slide or something like that. That would be really good.
Okay, thank you. And because I know that question came in a few separate times, so if anyone has further clarification that they need on that, please reach out to us and we can definitely walk you through it. Next question, you sort of touched a bit on this in the presentation, but would you just go a little bit more into a walking trail or fitness equipment in a park? That question came in twice.
Yeah, the walking trail in a park is eligible. Adding fitness equipment that is, you know, like I've seen at parks near me, where you're doing chin-ups or special push-ups or some of those things. You know, it's kind of borderline whether that's eligible, and I would normally say let's just let the scoring committee look at it. But I would say it's probably also not going to get, they're probably going to think, is that really outdoor recreation? So if you can tie it to something that they're going to see as a little bit more adventure course, like the challenge course out at, I can't remember the name of the reservoir down near Beaver County, is a good example of something that you could get in a park. So that if you are interested in that, let me know. That is more expensive than your typical smaller fitness features that are alongside of a fitness trail within a park. And the adventure course kind of thing would also be eligible. Okay, India, what else?
All right, so this next question, I'm putting it back in the chat as well, just so you can see it as I'm reading it. It came in from Eric Ellis. If there's a larger project with trails, land restoration, very outdoor recreation center project elements that are funded, can we apply for an additional element with the tourism focal point, an education center through the UORG grant, and use the funded portions of trail and restoration as the match to the grant request for the construction of the education/visitor structure? And if this is getting too into the weeds for this, we could definitely answer that offline.
That's a definite, Eric, we would have to get into it. So in other words, I'm trying to gather whether you're saying that it's stuff that's previously been funded and built. And I would say anything that,
I could clarify. I'm just wondering if it's not been, we haven't used the dollars yet. I'm just wondering if a large project that has multiple elements, if those elements that are funded today, but not implemented today or spent today, can be used as match dollars to a specific element of a large project, so that it could be funded in full using the match of the broader project.
So the best way to do that is to combine it all. Even though you've got one portion funded, you're basically, if you combine that all and it's one project, right? Yep. That's the best way to match it. If you're saying, yeah, so pull it all together as one big project, and you could probably do it. And I'd want to know about the education center, because you know, we've kind of had we're not funding enclosed buildings, buildings that, you know, have a roof, a shelter, maybe even, you know, a wall on some of the sides, but are open. That would be fine. And sometimes that's all that's needed for an educational center. So yeah, let's chat on another a little later.
Perfect. And then the next question that came in, what does the 24-month or 18-month time period include? Is this submission to reimbursement, would you just kind of go
Oh,
into
yeah.
that?
So it's basically from the time that you get your contract. That's a really good question, because see, what you have is you have a 24-month contract period. So from the time that your contract, and we say start, go, that's when it starts. So thank you. And I see one about a concrete path, or would it need to be natural materials or paved? A concrete path is perfectly fine as long as it doesn't seem like it's a sidewalk, right? You know, concrete definitely has its durability, which makes it much more longer lasting than, say, an asphalt paved. As long as it's more of a path than a sidewalk, you're good to go. And I would point out, as long as you're fitting in with ADA requirements, that's a big thing there. So Gary, that could really help your application. Okay,
All right,
India.
thank you. The next question, how is tribal land eligible for these grants?
It's eligible as is any other type of land. Tribal governments can apply. Obviously, it's really hard for non-tribal entities to apply to build anything on tribal land. They control that. So, matter of fact, I am giving a workshop with the Utah tribal leadership tomorrow. So, because we are really wanting to encourage the tribes to take advantage of this opportunity for grant funding.
Okay, thank you. Farron City Recorder asks, if we were given a grant last year, how much of that project needs to be completed before we could apply again?
If it's a completely different project, it doesn't have to be complete at all. If it is a phase 1 of a project and you're applying for a phase 2, it should be winding down and ready to be complete by May, which is when your contract might start.
Thank you. Kate and Ben Davies, does the staff review from March 1 include a feedback period so we can make revisions prior to March 19th?
Yep, that's the whole objective.
Okay,
It's for you to make
terrific.
those, yeah.
Gary, you answered his question about concrete. Julia asks, would property boundary fences be eligible for an application that is also looking for trail construction funding for a public access park? Additionally, would land restoration work count for the match requirement?
Yes, yes. The land restoration work counts for a match requirement, provided that is inclusive, just like it was for Eric Ellis's project. As long as it hasn't already been done, you include it within the project. Property boundary fences can be super important. And you know, should the trail need something like a cattle guard, gates, any of that, you know, to enter onto property. Or shared use areas, such as, you know, where cattle might be grazing, all of that stuff is eligible. But property boundary fences, I can't emphasize this enough. As long as you've got trail restoration work, you know, and the trail's being constructed, but it's not one of those things where we already did the trail, now we need the property boundary fences. Again, it kind of looks like, yeah, that's eligible, but you can see why the scoring committee wouldn't be excited about it. If that
All right,
answers
thank
the question.
you. I think I got to all of the questions that are in the chat so far. If I missed your question or you have a new question, please feel free to put it back in the chat. I'll make sure that we see that. And with that, Patrick, I'll turn it over to you to send it along.
Yeah, and let me just say something too about the National Park Services RTCA slides. If your project right now is something that you've got written on the back of a napkin, basically you are not ready. You don't have real landscape architect designed conceptual drawings. You could really use help from the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. And that's not all they do. And I just wanted to put in my very enthusiastic plug.
Great, and I guess with that, I'm excited to introduce Betsy Byrne.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that, Tara. Thanks for the handoff, Patrick. Can you guys hear me okay? Good, okay. So Yeah, I'm Betsy Byrne. I am with the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. And what we do is just we support community-led outdoor recreation and conservation projects. So sort of like Tara said, if you've listened to this and you said, we're not quite ready to apply for grant funding, we need to get our ducks in a row, we need to do some planning, that's potentially a way in which we can come and help you. It is your project. We're there just to support you with some technical assistance. There's no cost for our technical assistance. We don't bring funding, but we can help you perhaps identify some sources of funding as we work our way through the planning process with you. Patrick, next slide, if you would. So the projects really depend on the community and what their needs are and what they're wanting to do. These are kind of just some broad categories of the different types of work that we can help with. The first one there, building healthy communities through parks, trails, and outdoor opportunities. That's, most of our projects kind of fall within that bucket in one way or another. That's your, trail project, a park project. Anything that sort of develops or improves outdoor recreation access to lands and waters are things that we can potentially help you think through. We also can help with conserving natural lands, rivers, and watersheds, like say a river restoration project or a green infrastructure project, things like that. We can help with engaging youth in outdoor recreation and stewardship, and sometimes that's helping, involve them in the planning process or something like that. We can help strengthen the organizational capacity of project partners. So that's, helping you sort of, build a coalition to implement your shared goals and sort of leverage skills and resources over the long term, beyond the time that RTCA is involved. And we can help with connecting and collaborating with national parks. Your project doesn't have to have anything to do with a National Park Service unit, but we all know that gateway communities kind of have some special challenges and opportunities that we can kind of help you think through. And that's not just for National Park Service units, that's gateway communities that are, by BLM land or Forest Service land. It's kind of getting everybody on the same page with shared goals between the community and the land managers. And I just want to kind of mention that, Patrick, go back 1 second. That picture on the right, that's, Patrick mentioned this earlier in the RRI grant. This is Southern Utah University working on that sort of campground that they applied for the RRI grant last year. And that's Bridget Eastup and my coworker, Brandon Stocksdale, were walking around the hillside, kind of coming up with some concepts for that. So kind of a good example there. Thank you. Okay. So within those broad categories, the type of help that we can provide really depends on, community's needs and the project's needs, sort of like I said before, but it's really about helping your community get organized around that idea. It's, a big part of what we do. Patrick mentioned earlier secrets for success. He said partners, partners, partners. That's really a big mantra for us as well. So we can help you analyze the stakeholders and partners that you might need to engage to bring resources or knowledge or funding to your project. And we also emphasize community outreach and engagement to either build support for a project or help get feedback on a project. So that's oftentimes something we can really help you do on your project. And it's really a lot of just kind of the different things that kind of go into getting organized and a render plan. We can help facilitate meetings. We can help help you clarify your vision and goals for the project. Maybe develop a concept plan for the project. We don't do it to the level of like engineering documents or construction documents, things like that, but we can do, help illustrate your ideas in a plan so that you're ready to say, hey, we've thought about this, we're ready to go for funding, or, hey, let's go hire a professional trail builder to get the trail on the ground, things like that. And I guess finally, just that last bullet, I mentioned this before, but also just kind of helping you build a working coalition that can help you implement and maintain your vision over the long term. And sometimes that's through, building a trail alliance or a sustainable nonprofit or something like that. So this is our application timeline. You can go to find our applications at nps.gov/RTCA. You find our application there and some other information. We've changed our application cycle this year, so now we're accepting applications March 1st. So this is actually really perfect because right now we're kind of, reaching out to communities, soliciting projects, asking for people's ideas. And so this is a great time to come and contact us, tell us about your idea. We can help you kind of think through, what partners you need to get on board to help you and what they might bring to the project. We do look for 3 letters of commitment from partners, so we can help you kind of identify who those partners are and how they can help. And we can talk to you about what's an appropriate role for us, for our TCA, and how we might help you. So yeah, applications due March 1st. Then we do a competitive selection process, and we'll probably select projects by May. And our contact information for myself and my coworker Brandon Stocksdale are down there at the bottom. You can email me at betsy_byrne@nps.gov. And again, please just reach out anytime. We're happy to talk about your project, see if it works, kind of help you think through some stuff. So thanks for letting me be involved in this workshop. It's really great. Patrick, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Betsy. And just to kind of echo Tara, this is just a wonderful resource. I encourage you all to reach out. They've been very helpful with a lot of our grant applicants, and we look forward to seeing the newest projects from their help. So as we move forward, we're going to continue to talk about partners, and our next partner for our RRI grants for our UORG is going to be very important, as we have so much Forest Service land, and there's definitely some tips. There's ready-made projects. There's just so much that both the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management can offer. So to talk about the Forest Service, I want to introduce Larry Velarde, who's the Trails Dispersed Recreation and Travel Management Program Manager for Region 4, I think, but I'll go ahead and let him go forward with that.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Tara. Thanks, India. Thanks for putting on these workshops. Obviously very important to all of us. As Patrick mentioned, I am Larry Velarde, and Trails Dispersed Recreation Travel Management Program Manager, work for the overall arching recreation shop that's managed by our director, Chris Hartman. The region consisting of 12 national forests, 5 of which are in Utah, that you can see right there. The rest of the forests that we help advise, support, recommend, decipher policy, laws, and regulations are in southern Idaho, western Wyoming, Nevada, and here in Utah, the 5 forests here in Utah. So Tara mentioned before that we cannot apply direct as federal land managers, so whether it be Park Service, BLM, Forest Service. We have to work very closely with our partners to do so. I think that we've done a superb job working with our partners, or partners working with us over the last couple of years. And I guess what I'd like to do right now is just kind of share what we accomplished as far as being successful with those project submittals this past year. So for the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant, projects on Forest Service system lands, which are your public lands, we were successful with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Davis County South Project, Davis County in the Uinta-Wasatch Cache, Rattlesnake Gulch Reroute, Trails Utah, Salt Lake County in the Uinta-Wasatch Cache, the Pavant Mountain Bike Trail System Phase 2, Richfield City Trails Committee, Sevier County in the Fish Lake National Forest, Ephraim Canyon Trails Project, Ephraim City, Sanpete County in the Manti-LaSalle National Forest. Those were the 4 for the UORGs. For the Utah Recreation Restoration Infrastructure grant projects on Forest Service system lands, public lands, ADA Yurts 2020, Bear River Outdoor Recreation Alliance, Summit County in the Uinta-Wasatch Cache, Alpine Creek Loop Restoration, Bryan Head Town, Iron County in the Dixie National Forest, Crystal Lake Trailhead Reconstruction and Expansion, Summit County Government, Summit County in the Uinta-Wasatch Cache, Flaming Gorge Little Hole National Recreation Trail Restoration, Flaming Gorge Community Foundation, Daggett County and the Ashley National Forest, Gates Lake Trailhead Improvement Project, Paiute Trail Committee, Sevier County, Fish Lake National Forest, Jacob's Ladder Trail Reroute to Lone Peak Cirque, Salt Lake Climbers Alliance, Salt Lake County in the Uinta-Wasatch Cache, Lakeshore and Tasha Creek Trail Restoration Project, American Conservation Experience, Sevier County in the Fish Lake National Forest, Logan Canyon River Trail Improvement, Stokes Nature Center, Cache County, and the Uinta-Wasatch Cache. Reconstruction of Spruce's Campground, Kane County, the Dixie National Forest. Red Canyon Bike Trail Restoration Project, Garfield County Economic Development, Garfield County, and the Dixie National Forest. Uinta-Wasatch Cache National Forest Trail Restoration, Utah State University, Utah Conservation Corps, Summit County, and the Uinta-Wasatch Cache. And last but not least, Wasatch Plateau Non-Motorized Trail Restoration, San Rafael Backcountry Horseman, Emery County, and the Manti LaSalle. So you see, it's very important for us to work with partners such as yourself out there. On the screen, you can see that I am the main liaison with the Utah Forest Service with the Utah Office of Outdoor Recreation. But you also have specific contacts for each forest. So for the Ashley is Ryan Berkeley and Don Jakes. For the Fish Lake is Dan Child. For the Dixie is Kyle Grambley. For the UWC, Uinta-Wasatch Cache is Cheryl Butler. And for the Manti LaSalle is Andrew Orelman. However, for many of you that have already worked with us, or for those that do want to work with us, if you have contacts locally on the ranger districts, on the forest that might be somewhat different than the names that you see there, please continue to work with those individuals. This is for you that have not worked with us in the past, and these folks will get you in direct contact with the folks that you need to work with. So again, just wanted to really recognize those folks that have worked with us in the past. Looking forward to working with other partners in the future. And we're doing some great work out there, and you're helping us with our deferred maintenance needs. You probably have heard of the Great Americans Outdoor Act funding that we are going to be receiving. We've got a number of projects that are on that list. This can certainly help with that as well. So for any information or projects that are happening on any of those forests, please use these points of contact that we have up on the screen, and or folks that you're already working with at the district level. And just thanks for everything you do. And Tara, Patrick, and India, thanks for everything that you guys do for us as well. Couldn't do it without you.
We love working with the Forest Service, that's for sure. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you very much, Larry. And Larry touched on this. I just kind of want to reemphasize that a lot of these federal land agencies may have projects that are essentially planned and shovel ready, and they're just looking for support. So for a lot of people on the call with projects in mind, that's one thing. But if you are here and you want to help your community and you're looking for a good idea, get with your local land managers. They may have some really good ideas. They'll certainly value your input and your support. So now I just kind of want to go to the last of our land managers, which is our Bureau of Land Management. You can just see the map on the right, how much BLM land we have here in Utah. There will be an incredible partner, as they have been with many of our projects, both the UORG projects and the RRI. So I want to introduce Chelsea McKinney. She is the acting Utah Recreation and Visitor Services lead for the Bureau of Land Management. So please, Chelsea, tell us a little bit about the BLM and as a partner.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
So yes, my name is Chelsea McKinney. I am the Acting Recreation and Visitor Services Lead for the State of Utah Bureau of Land Management. I've replaced for a short duration Matt Blocker, so anyone that's worked with him in the past, that's who I am standing in for right now, if you will. But don't worry, our Trails and Travel Management Specialist, Evan Glenn, is still around, and he wanted me to put in a good plug for if you have projects, for trail management or anything in that area, please give him a call or keep him in mind. But as Larry stated, we as a federal agency can't apply for these funds, so we look forward to working with partners. And some of the things I'd like to highlight, because I know it's a lot of information packed into this hour, so just trying to give you the highlights of what I think would really help if you have a project in mind on BLM managed lands, is to work early and often with our field offices. Even if it's not going to happen this year, putting down that groundwork with the field office and letting them know your vision and seeing where projects might already be completed. As Patrick said, stuff that's NEPA ready might already be on the books. It's just not happening either due to funding or just due to staffing. So if you guys come early and have those conversations, it should help us, maybe not this year, but maybe the following year. And, you know, early is always better than later. Another item to talk about is, even if the project isn't on BLM land, say it's on one of the national forests, due to the high increase that everyone's seeing the past couple of years of people getting outside and enjoying public lands, it might be worth it to have another letter of support from the BLM for another project. Or, you know, maybe we might have volunteers that, if it's so close to our lands, that, you know, we can team up and share those types of resources. So again, speak early, speak often with our offices, and just build that relationship up if you know, it's not there, but it sounds like there's plenty of projects that have happened in the past. So just wanting to re-emphasize that. Again, timing with it, if it's completed, if the NEPA is completed or almost completed, and you guys want to get a head start, because it's an exchanging of funds, you know, that is another step in government. You might take an assistance agreement, and we might need to lay the groundwork for that and go through that process. So again, that's why we really emphasize the talking early and often with us. I think Tara spoke earlier about showcasing like the socio-economic benefits of your project, and the BLM has some staff on board in Utah State that could help generate those reports. So if you need help with that, please let us know. We can make that happen. And then all of the resources that have been provided during this webinar, you know, please read them. And I definitely recommend doing that first, you know, that draft deadline date, and getting feedback. So if there's something that we can improve the application, we should get that done. So those are my 2 cents, and I really look forward to working with all of you. And I hope you guys, you know, consider one of our field offices to work with in the future.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. I think all of Utah, we're very lucky. We have, you know, so much public lands to recreate on. But along with that, I think we're also very fortunate to have such great public land managers. So you will always find great, willing partners there. Cannot emphasize enough how helpful they'll be. So please reach out. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. We will be sending out all of the slides to everybody who was registered, along with a few other resources. You know, I can't emphasize enough to reach out to us with any questions. We normally like to do these workshops in person on the road. We're doing it virtually this year. So we appreciate everybody spending your lunch with us. In any moment you have any question about anything we've discussed today, or as you start to apply, you can see our emails there. Look for the recording for those other resources, and we hope everybody has a great rest of the day. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say I can answer a few questions for anybody who wants to be online, like Erin Lee about an ADA accessible playground. Erin, I would love to say yes, but the design would have to be a little bit more outdoor recreation and a little less standard playground. Because we really do want to support any kind of ADA equipment that gets our children outside and active. And there might be some ways to do that. So if you've got my contact information, it's just tmckee@utah.gov. You can reach out and we can discuss that a little bit more. So thank you, and I'm happy to help in any other way we can. Are there any other questions? You can also do it orally at this point. Thanks. All right, I assume questions have been asked. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.